Hello, Internet, and welcome once again, yes, to the Free-to-Play Cast, episode 224, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. You are watching this on the 16th of June or later, but we recorded it on the 15th because we're early like that. We've got news, we've got hosts, we've got E3, and of course we've got your viewer feedback on last week's question of the week and your bombs or questions for the panel. So let's get started by introducing said panel. First up on the line, as always, Miss Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
Hey! So the noise is a little bit better now, right, guys? Just a teeny bit.
Teeny bit better. A couple comments on it. Yeah, since the move, it hasn't sounded that, but that's all right. We're going to get you a headset. You'll be fine.
I want to apologize to everybody. It is literally because I'm in a room where the only soft thing in the room is a set of curtains.
Yep.
Floor's tile, the walls are hard.
We got your comments. We agree. We were trying to work on it ahead of time to fix it, but we're just going to go ahead and order a headset for Miss Q. Just bite the bullet, get her a headset. Also on the line, wearing no headset, Mr. Troy Blackburn. How are you, sir?
I like earbuds. Earbuds are better. It's E3 season, so I guess it's
pull your camera
say,
down again? For some
ready,
reason,
right?
it raised up again.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you've got like a foot and a half of headroom.
Camera adjustments.
Seriously, we did do this pre-show, but
yes, we did. This is, and my camera froze. There we go.
You know, no, what it probably is he did this. Remember, he was sitting like this, and then he went.
And then he sat back. He leaned back, Troy. So how are you, sir?
I'm Batman. I'm glorious.
Yeah, Adam West. We're gonna miss him. We're gonna miss the mayor. Gonna miss him. Troy, you're gonna be.
You brought up before the show. They're gonna shine the Batman spotlight over.
They're gonna add the.
That's such an awesome tribute, isn't it?
Shining the bat signal, and now I just have Adam West. Adam West.
I support this bill so much I'm gonna sign it in all capitals. Adam West. Great Family Guy moments. We will miss the mayor, but let's get started with the news. All right, so this week, obviously, E3, which followed a bit of a different format if you haven't been keeping tabs on E3. First off, it wasn't just exclusively press anymore, right? You could buy tickets and go to E3. We had all the big presentations like days in advance. Was I the only one that felt kind of like this, Troy? I felt like watching the E3 coverage this week, by the time the event officially started, it was over. Like, I just, that was the general feel I got. I mean, EA had done their thing, and Nintendo, and Sony, and Microsoft, and Bethesda, and Ubisoft, and by the time it officially kicked off on Tuesday, the 13th, I've got the feeling like it was over.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I was, Twitch encouraged you to restream E3 and like commentate over it and stuff, so we were doing some of that on my stream, twitch.tv/noobfridge. And I forget, it was
subtle plug.
Ubisoft, yeah, subtle plug. Ubisoft or Nintendo that made a comment somewhere along the way, hey, we're kicking off E3 with yada, yada, yada. And I literally made the remark, no, you're not. This is over now. And I sat there for about a solid 30 seconds. I was like, oh, wait, no, they're right. But just like you, I was like, no, this is the end. This is Nintendo. This is the last thing. Like, this is over with. How are you kicking off E3?
You know, something else funny about the E3 thing with them allowing, you know, more than just the companies and stuff. Now, somebody tweeted something to the effect of all these Americans complaining about the crowds at E3. They'd never survived Gamescom. It's like the people are complaining about the crowds at E3 because it didn't used to allow those kinds of crowds.
Yeah.
Not because there's a lot of people, but it's a lot of not the right kind of people. Basically.
I will say this, though, in watching some of that stuff, and we're going to get to a few particulars here. There wasn't a ton of free-to-play news, but we'll hit the free-to-play news from E3, and then, of course, we'll talk about our favorites like we do every year. But I did get the at least feeling watching it. In E3 years past, there's always been those cringe moments, right? Where somebody is trying to get a huge reaction out of press, who are generally the most cynical gaming bastards on the face of the planet anymore. And so, like, they try and, oh, yeah, let me hear you. And, yeah.
Yeah,
but,
pause for applause, and
right?
then one dude is like, oh,
right. But since there were more just the general gaming public, I felt like there were at least less of those cringe. There still were some, like the missed high five. That was fantastic. The hold it up, you weren't looking, I'm going to put it down. Now you noticed, now I'm going to put it. They still had a couple of those, but generally the audience participation moments did seem a little bit more genuine and interactive. So I guess there's that to be said. I felt like the vibe of the place was a bit more positive than cynical press waiting for this announcement sucks, get to the next one. This announcement sucks, stop talking about it for 15 minutes. So at least there was a plus there for me on that aspect as a viewer. Maybe I'm out of my mind, Troy. What'd you think?
No, I mean, the audience was there. The suckers that are going to give EA money for Battlefront 2, even after they got screwed with the first one not being a complete game and a complete cash grab. They were there, the guys who were going to give them money for that one, so they're genuinely excited about it, where those of us, like you said, a lot of the press would sit there and go, oh my God, are you going to get it right this time?
So let's talk about some of your favorites first, and then we'll get to the free-to-play news. We used to kind of grade these guys. I don't think there's a reason to grade them anymore. There wasn't any, at least for me, this year's E3 did not hold any real secrets or huge announcements that I anticipated and was eager for or thought might be hidden. It was generally what I expected across the board. You know, Sony talked about its continuing lineup, its continued push into VR. Microsoft, of course, talked about 4K gaming to great extent. Nintendo elaborated more on their Switch initiatives, including some Super Mario Odyssey footage and gameplay, which, by the way, all right, it looked good. I'm going to give it to you. I was
going to say, if at this point you don't want to own a Switch, you're dead inside.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo's finally getting it right with their consoles.
Yes, Mario Odyssey looked great. I love the bouncing back and forth between the 3D and the 2D, a la Link Between Worlds from Zelda's DS adventures. But what was your favorite announcement or two of the entire conference? And again, it's not quite finished, but we generally have all the big announcements in now queue. So what were your kind of personal highlights for you?
Let's see. It's one of those things where I just thought it was really pretty, but I think, what was it, like the new BioWare game? Like, it just looked pretty. But I think my favorite thing, though, and it wasn't an announcement, it was just somebody pointing out that Xbox One X, the acronym is Xbox. So that must be the reason they did it.
Were you talking about Anthem from BioWare?
Yes, Anthem.
Okay.
Thank you. My brain is so fried at this point that remembering. And the way, honestly, I kind of did the whole watching it on VOD bit, where there were whole sections that I just skipped.
Oh, yeah.
Like, EA Sports. Nope. Shuttle that over there. Way over there. But yeah, I think my favorite thing to come out of E3 was the fact that the new Xbox console's acronym is Xbox.
XBOX. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Troy, what were
branding?
Yeah, dab brand. And they actually talked about that, though, right? I mean, there was an interview where they talked about why it got named the X, and they wanted to call it the Xbox One Elite, but then they couldn't because there's already an Xbox One Elite from the Xbox One launch cycle. There was an Elite version, so they already used that name, and then the Scorpio, and then they made that S. So they were just like, to keep this easy across the globe, X. Here we go. Enjoy the letter X. And there was a whole interview about that. Yeah.
Everybody loves the letter X. Letter X, letter Z.
Troy,
it makes them edgy. They're so edgy.
Troy, first off, before we go into your favorites, tacking on to Q's here, what do you think of the whole 4K gaming landscape? Generally something we don't talk about because free-to-play, it's not a really big part of it yet. But I own a PS4 Pro on my 4K TV, and I'll tell you, I love it. I love it, even when it's just an upscale or a checkerboard effect to get you into 4K. A particular game may not natively be 4K. But for me, I think, honestly, the HDR, the dynamic light resolution tricks, that probably does more for me personally than the actual 4K. Maybe I'm nuts, but that's just me. Where do you stand on the whole 4K console gaming stuff? Because right now it's in that odd place of, all right, that's kind of nice, but it's also $100 to $200 more expensive depending on the system, so screw it.
I don't think we're to a point yet where 4K is as mainstream as they want it to be. But of course, it's not going to be until you start pushing the product out there to make it worth it.
Right.
You know, those who don't have a 4K TV, why is it worth it to go get one? Those who want to buy a 4K console, why is it worth it? So they've got to put that stuff out there. But yeah, I'm the same way. Most of my gaming, as a matter of fact, all my gaming right now is on PC. I play most of it at 1080. I have 4K capability, but like you said, I mean, here we are. We play a lot of free-to-play online games and such. It's just not out there for us right now. So to me, it doesn't affect me as much. I look at it and go, ooh, shiny. But like some of the PlayStation exclusives look really cool from E3 this year, right? But
Yeah.
I would probably just go buy a standard PS4 in all honesty, save a few bucks because I'm only going to game on that, I don't know, few hours a week probably. So for me, it's not like, oh, I got to buy the new big shiny thing. But, you know, we're probably a few years away from 4K, you know, making itself the standard.
Wouldn't a quicker way to make 4K a standard to do what they did before with like the VHS Betamax wars and all the different wars and just put porn on it?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It'll be mainstream as soon as porn adopts it, and they already are. And
that's what's making VR viable.
Yep. You want to look back on why VHS beat Betamax, even though Betamax was a superior format? It was because the porn industry adopted VHS. So, yeah. And no, I'm not making that up. Google it. But yeah, so as soon as porn is in 4K, that's VR, right? VR totally will be viable and in everybody's house. As soon as porn adopts VR, which they already are. They're already making...
How could you not?
Right?
If you're in that industry, how could you not look at that and be like,
Well, I guess it's free on the internet, so it's applicable to what we're talking about. Just find a way to segue porn into the discussion.
Yeah.
High dynamic range, the lighting, absolutely love that stuff, though. Absolutely love it. And I enjoy the 4K. I'm going to get an Xbox One S, or One X, or Xbox One X. The 4K version of the Xbox, that one? Yeah, I'll get it when it comes out at some point, just to put it side by side with the PS4. And there was some fun going back and forth at E3 between Sony and Xbox on which one was better and why. And we also saw, which is more applicable to what we're talking about here in online gaming, we also saw the continued debate between Sony and Microsoft on who's really holding up cross-platform gaming. That devolved into like 3 or 4 different interviews on different sites between Microsoft and Sony saying, it's really Microsoft and we're worried about Sony saying, we're worried about protecting our data, our clientele, and once we open it up to other servers, then we can't necessarily control some of the... No, you still have the 11-year-old shits swearing on PlayStation Plus as well. So the excuses flew, but we still got nowhere.
Were they trying to say that they didn't have that?
Right, I don't know. It's kind of the impression I got. It was like,
our players are so much more.
They particularly brought Minecraft in the discussion and said, all kinds of people, yes, play Minecraft, but generally it's a younger audience. And on our own platforms, we're able to, kind of protect that audience and the content that they may view. And if we open it up, and it was just a bunch of bullshit back and forth. It's money. It's money. They just don't want to say it's money. It's money. So, yeah, we continued the cross-platform debate. So, Troy, for you, what were some key announcements for Mr. Noobfridge's game collection?
Oh, man. Every year, everybody likes to talk about who won E3, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And I know probably for a lot of folks, Ubisoft, always Ubisoft. I thought Nintendo put on a strong presentation this year, but if you want to know who won E3 this year, go to YouTube, look up Devolver Digital's E3 2017 presentation. There's your winner, ding, 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 knockout punch to every other big publisher developer out there. Satire, sarcasm, humor, introduced some games, but really made a statement about the industry as a whole. And I think the catchphrase they kept using was, tomorrow's unethical business practices today. That was their satirical take on their entire presentation. It was fantastic. Go to YouTube, watch it. Other than that, I enjoyed seeing a little bit more of Sea of Thieves. I think a lot of folks are looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And the Shadow of the Colossus remake looked fantastic. But mostly, I came away wanting to own a Switch. The I'm not gonna lie, the Mario Rabbids game, the first couple of minutes, I did nothing but mock it endlessly because it was just a bunch of dudes running around on a map doing nothing. Then when it turned into Mario XCOM, I was like, oh shit, I want to play this. I don't want to play this right now.
Rabbids.
I would play that
to
death.
death. Love the Rabbids.
Yes. So yeah, between that and Mario Odyssey and like the games that are already out, like Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart, stuff like that, I'll be owning a Switch sometime very, very soon. They're making it worth buying their console.
Got my Breath of the Wild Switch collector set right back there. We enjoy the Switch. Me and the family and I, we absolutely love the Switch. And when we bought it on launch day, I was like, this is so gimmicky, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it's evolved in some of the games that I mean, we have the entire available library right now, and there are some great games in there. Some of them are awful. But
the first time I saw, like the first time they aired their promo or whatever for it, for the Switch, I was just like, I need this so badly. I need this thing in my life. I don't know, maybe I'm still just 12. But I just wanted it so bad.
For me, Destiny 2 looked fantastic. I can't wait.
Quick question: are you going to choose between Destiny 2 and Anthem? Are you? Because that's what I'm going to do. I'm not playing both. I'll choose one at some point and play one.
I'll play both because I play those games casually, so it's not one of those. I really got to be careful on what I'm going to sink my time into, and I only have time for one. I played Destiny very casually. I'll play Destiny 2 casually. I won't be part of like a hardcore advancement progression, that type of group. So for me, I can sink time into both of them, whatever I feel like I'm in the mood for. Where if it became something like Final Fantasy 14 for me, then yeah, I would definitely have to pick one or the other, not both. So Destiny 2, obviously we saw some additional things from them. Super Mario Odyssey looked really fun. I can't wait to get my hands on that. I was impressed by Nintendo's slate at this year's E3. It was actually really well done. ARMS has been like one of those games I mocked from day one when it was advertised on the Switch, and just have generally been becoming more and more and more interested in as time goes on. Not quite the Rabbids experience for you, Troy, where it was, oh my god. It's just, okay, that looks silly. That looks... All right, then we took part in the beta, and okay, now I see... It just more and more interest in it, particularly with kids, you know, so... Nintendo kind of won it for me as far as the games. Although I will, you know, Destiny, PC or console? Where are you going?
PC. Everything I do is PC. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get it for the PlayStation 4 at some point, but it's a PC game for me. I don't. Q, you're not going to be jumping into Destiny or anything like that, right?
No.
You're going to be all in Anthem. BioWare totally got your wallet
here's
already.
The thing. No. I just liked the way it looked. But here's the thing. I always like the way BioWare games look. I hate playing them. I do. I hate playing BioWare games. I give them so much credit on, you know, making these cool looking games and stuff, but I hate playing them.
That is the best worst endorsement of a product ever.
It's not their fault.
Campbell's, I like the way your cans look, but your soup tastes like shit.
It's totally it's not them, it's me thing. Like, for their audience, their games are great. I'm just not their audience, is what it comes down to.
So you're breaking up with BioWare, it's just not working out. You look pretty, but I can't have a conversation with you.
I think I spent like 15 minutes in Mass Effect, and I watched some other people play and I was just like, oh.
Reminded of Family Guy of that scene, that flashback where it's like dating a woman with a bad laugh, right? And Peter's sitting there at the fireplace with a beautiful knockout bombshell, and then he tells a joke and she goes, That's your relationship with BioWare.
It's one of those things of like, I would love to love them. But
sit there and look pretty. Don't open your mouth.
Pretty much. Well, and that's actually always been one of my big beefs with BioWare is that I guess, you know, I like to be able to turn the audio off after some point and not have to listen to the characters and just like, you know, read. Like when they talk to me for too much, then I'm just over it because I'd rather be listening to music. I think it's an ADD thing. I will literally sit and watch a TV show, listen to music, and read a book at the same time.
On the free-to-play side of E3, really only 2 announcements, kind of, besides Microsoft did their whole, like, free games for a certain period of time thing. I mean, that generally doesn't qualify as free-to-play news when it's a couple of days. But we did see that Bethesda announced the Heroes of Skyrim expansion for Elder Scrolls Legend, the card game. So you're going to see a lot of Skyrim characters. Oh, that was another thing. Skyrim VR intrigued me too. It was like really,
Skyrim on Nintendo Switch. Skyrim, let's milk all our old franchises.
PSVR, man.
Well, the ones people love the most.
Yeah, and it was like, oh wait, you're going to find a way to get me to dump another 100 hours into this game? Anyway, so Heroes of Skyrim coming to Elder Scrolls Legend, the card game. You're going to get new champions that are off of the, or companions that are off of the Fall of the Dark Brotherhood's change ability, kind of based on that. You'll be able to break runes to get companions that change into their beast forms, which gives them even more and stronger abilities, and obviously a lot of shouts, dragons, and other familiar characters from the game. So if you're a player of Elder Scrolls Legends, that's got to be pretty nice news. Either of you play much of the Legends game? I did the first look, and that was about it.
Nope.
I'm going to get to say this twice during this show. I hate CCGs with a passion.
Do you really?
I can't stand, yes, I cannot stand them. Real world, Magic the Gathering, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. Digital, Hearthstone. I can play Gwent a little bit, only because I'm more familiar with it from The Witcher 3, because I've got more hours in that than I do Skyrim at this point. But yeah, I hate CCGs with a passion. So here in just a couple of minutes, I'll get to say this all over again.
Why do you hate CCGs? Like, I'm generally, none of them really excite me, but there are a couple that I'll dabble in here and there. I'm not a huge CCG guy, but what makes you downright hate them?
I don't like the randomness, the way most of them you collect your cards. It's very random what you get and what you've got. So some guy can there can definitely be haves and have-nots.
Don't you play? You were a card game player in the physical world at some point, right?
I've played Magic the Gathering. That's the game that made me realize I despise these types of games. I know that's the game that made me realize I despise them. That's what I'm saying. I've played it, and that's Magic is what made me realize I despise these games.
Oh, so you don't like it in the real world either?
Well, I thought, like Hearthstone, I thought a digital version of this type of game, maybe that'll be better. I jumped into it immediately. I was like, no, this is the exact same crap. I'm not doing any of this, and I can craft this nice deck. And then we go in and some dude draws one random super awesome card at the right time, and boom, it doesn't matter what you've done for the entire game, you're defeated. And screw that crap.
Q, are you into the CCGs?
I dabble in them, and in real world or digital, I just kind of dabble in them here and there. I'm not, I'm not as detail oriented on a lot of that stuff, or just like any card game, right? Like if you're really good at card games, you kind of have an idea of what's going on in your, so it's not something that like I'm pro at or anything, but I'll get in there and I'll dabble with it and play with it, and I like it for the general fun, but it's not like I try to go competitive or something like that.
Troy's got a violent dislike. The other free-to-play news from E3 that was pretty big, Smite and Paladins from High Res Studios, they're going to be launch day games on the Xbox One X. Both running in 4K at 60 frames per second. There's trailers already released and available. You can check them out on the MMOBomb site. Both made with the Xbox One X dev kits. So again, the representation is with the current dev kits. Things could, of course, change. Both look beautiful if you watch them on 4K. So if you are a Smite fan or a Paladins fan, or you're just generally excited about something in 4K on launch day, there's some free-to-play options for you on the Xbox One X. We also got Microsoft to kind of define for us a timed exclusive release. Because we always generally, knew it as it'll be available on another console at some point, and finally it was nice to have a big company acknowledge that. So there are going to be some exclusive releases for the Xbox One X. Generally, most of them are timed exclusive releases that you will probably at some point be able to get on the PlayStation, the PS4 Pro at some point. So, Troy, you had your arms up there for 4K Smite. Does that intrigue you?
the game is far superior on PC, but if on the console, I would definitely dabble in both of those on the console, even playing it on the PC. But yeah, 4K Smite, like, it may be underrated. Like, the models in that game, yes, they're cartoony and they're lower texture, then they're not trying to be photorealistic, but they have some good looking character models and stuff in that game. So to see all that in 4K, yeah, that would be amazeballs.
And technically, you can get the PC version to run in 4K now. I've seen mixed reviews on how well it does it.
Yeah, that's not something most people want to try to get into.
Q, your friends at High Res, you're not surprised by this at all, them being ready on day one?
Not really. I mean, since they already had them on, you know, the other consoles, it's just not, you know, really surprising that they would go ahead and just be like, boom. You know, like, because, you know, they've already got the dev kits and they're working, and they're, like, somebody, I forget, there was somebody from the department that was tweeting, like, you know, some of the stuff about it or whatever. But yeah, I'm not terribly surprised that they'd have it ready to go. They're already working on the Xbox, so.
Now if they could just put that sort of initiative into getting Paladins out of a perpetual open beta, they would be in business.
Right?
Well, I mean, but that's the thing about High Res too, though, right? Like, they just let it live in beta until they get a game they actually want. Because
Smite Tactics is just keep not only changing, but they even change names. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, what I mean is that their open beta is really just come help us make the game.
Right.
Like, that's what it is for High Res. Like, they put it into beta so early. Like, you know, like, taking Blizzard, for example, right? When they announced Overwatch, yeah, there was still stuff that needed to be done for Overwatch, but it wasn't like it is with a high-res game where they're like, all right, we're going into beta now. Like, by the time Blizzard's ready for beta, they could pretty much just launch the game and just tweak things as they go along. But, like, they're literally, high-res is literally building the game with the players in there, so...
So let us know your winners of E3, what you're really looking forward to, whether it's free or not, doesn't matter. Every year we wrap up the E3 portion. We kind of throw away the free-to-play disclaimer just for a minute and talk about what we liked. So put your comments down below. Let's move on here because we actually, speaking of Magic the Gathering, we actually have a few pieces of... Ooh, voice crack there. Sorry, 14 years old again. Puberty's
so
a
I'm
bitch.
12, you're 14.
Right? We actually have quite a bit of Magic the Gathering news this week. First off, we've got Wizards of the Coast ceasing development on Magic Duels. You may know this one as Magic Duels Origin, depending on when you started playing it. Not that old a title, launched in like July of 2015, I think, somewhere around there. Mid-2015, so less than 2 years old at this point. Free-to-play Magic the Gathering card game. It's not going away, it's just gonna be in maintenance mode now. And while generally I wouldn't even really talk about this much, to your point earlier, Troy, this seems like a really, really big kick in the face to some free-to-play Magic fans, particularly based on the monetization model that these types of games use, to be turning around less than 2 years later and saying the game is in maintenance mode. Normally when people scream that their free-to-play game is shutting down and, oh, they've spent a ton of money in it, I really don't have much compassion for that argument because, hey, the game was running for 6, 7 years. You put in some money here and there. You had a good time. If you put in more money than you were comfortable with, to me, that's kind of on you at that point. But this is a collectible card game where, to your point, it almost entices you to keep putting money in, and being official with Wizards of the Coast, being their first real foray into the free-to-play market, you would have anticipated this game being around for years to come as it evolved into newer and newer versions. And now it's just going on a maintenance mode, and anybody that sunk a decent amount of money in this, I can almost understand them feeling burnt on this type of change. Or maybe I'm giving too much sympathy. What do you think, Troy?
I mean, especially when you look at, like, I believe it was Jason who did an article on MMOBomb.com talking about, like, looking at the players for the game. And I believe he said it was averaging around 3,000 on Steam, which was just enough to sneak it into the top 100. So It sounds like players were there, but maybe they just weren't. My best guess, those players weren't being monetized the way that they were hoping. I guess they were. Maybe once Hearthstone kind of landed and hit it big, they were like, all right, here comes that sweet, sweet digital CCG money. And maybe it just never happened like that.
It's kind of disappointing, Q, to see this particular title for me, because Magic is a powerful IP as far as the weight it carries. And this almost puts like a scar on it for me as far as the online Magic universe.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I really don't know how I feel about it, because if you think about it, like, okay, it's a digital Magic, right? And with the real world equivalent, if you're a real world Magic user, you know, if they came back and they went, you know what, we're shutting down all production of Magic cards, we're done. You know, there's still the ability for you to go, you know, put together your own tournaments and do stuff like that. Like, you've invested, you know, however much money, in the case of one of my ex, thousands and thousands of dollars in this game, you can still go set up your own, you know, stuff. It's just, you know, not official, and you may not, you know, depending on what they want to do, you may not be winning prizes or anything anymore. But this way, it's just, I don't know, with digital stuff, it's kind of like when you put money into it, there is a very big risk that, you know, at the whim of the company, it's gone. And that's like pretty much any online game, right? Like, I can go spend, you know, hundreds of dollars, you know, for Secret World Legends, and it could be gone tomorrow. So I don't know. It's kind of just a risk we take at this point.
Yeah, I feel for knowing how CCGs are monetized and seeing that there are people that you feel like, man, Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, online, free. I mean, there's all the indicators of this is going to be around for a while. It's not something like WildStar where you're taking a risk on an IP nobody knows, nobody's ever heard about before, and it's a brand new IP. And I like feel like there was more there for players to anticipate this is probably going to be around for a while, so I feel a little more comfortable spending the money in this type of game than some other game. And I'm torn on this one. On the flip side of this, Cryptic Studios and Perfect World Entertainment are working with Magic the Gathering to create an MMORPG based on the IP. And yes, we've reached out to them, and there's no real official comments on what the content of the game will be, other than it will be free to play, it will be an MMORPG. Yes, cards will come into it, and that kind of makes sense given that it's based on the Magic the Gathering franchise, but it is not a card game. They were very clear that this is an MMORPG, expect to be running around a world, action-based, that type of thing. So they're billing it as a free-to-play action MMORPG. I reached out to ask, you know, how involved are cards, and they said, well, obviously there's cards in the game, but this is, to be clear, an MMORPG, not a CCG. And Troy, I kind of hear you're dubious. I don't know if I'm going to like this right off the bat. What are you thinking?
It just depends on how they're going to, quote unquote, incorporate cards, right? Because that could be really cheesy and annoying, like it was, just to talk about something we just talked about. Paladins had like an RNG type card system in it for a while that really kind of threw off the playing of the game. I enjoyed it a little bit at first, but then after a time, it just got annoying to deal with because you never were 100% sure what you had going into a game. Now, that being said, Magic the Gathering, I'm sure there are people out there who are like super into the lore. There is lore for that game, and that sounds amazing to be able to explore the lore of Magic the Gathering, because it has this great story base that the game is actually built upon. And I'm going to say this, and this is probably going to be the most controversial thing I've said in a long, long time, because people are going to just hate it immediately. Cryptic Studios makes fun games to play. I enjoy playing Neverwinter, the actual act of playing it. Star Trek Online, I enjoy their games. Unfortunately, now Perfect World is the publisher, and their monetization practices are, let's just call it, heavy-handed.
And that is a lot of the feedback we're seeing on comments already, Q, is that People generally sometimes aren't happy with Perfect World Entertainment and their monetization, and even, you know, to counter Troy's point there a little bit, a lot of people aren't happy with the way Cryptic Studios has handled particular IPs, in particular Star Trek Online, and really in particular Neverwinter. So they've kind of got mixed feedback on all different aspects of this. Like, okay, a Magic the Gathering MMO RPG, what? Cryptic Studios, what? Perfect World Entertainment, what? What are you going to do with this game? It's a mixed bag of nuts, and that's literally all the information we have on this one right now, Q.
Yeah, I just don't... It's another one of those things where I just really don't know, because when I look at it, and it's like, if you just look at it from the MMO aspect, it's yet another fantasy MMO, apparently with card stuff. And if I want to get the lore for Magic the Gathering, I'm pretty sure there's novels I can just go read. I
don't know. I think there's potential there, but I can't argue. I have no counter to your point, Q, that at the end of the day, it's going to be another fantasy-based MMORPG then. And
let's, and one of the things that we've been saying for a while now, right, is like MMOs don't bring in the people that they used to bring in. Yes. And they try to rely on these things like, oh, if we just do this thing that already has a fan base, Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever. If we just do this thing that already has a fan base, we have the Lego game, the Lego MMO.
Yeah.
I mean, right? That should have been a no-brainer. It's freaking Legos. And yet, they couldn't do it. And it's because, I mean, there's so many MMOs. And if they're counting on a ton of people just hopping in and playing this game because, oh, it's Magic the Gathering, it's like, I'm pretty sure most of the Magic the Gathering fans are busy playing Magic the Gathering.
That's the other thing that I was thinking about too, Q, and that's a great point. Troy, we'll get your take on this. It being Magic the Gathering, you would think, all right, there's a built-in inherent fan base there, but then you need to look at, this is not Magic the Gathering. This is an MMORPG based on the Magic the Gathering IP, not even the Magic the Gathering game. Right? The actual card game itself, it's based on the IP. And so do you really have that same built-in install base that you think you do by creating a Magic the Gathering game? And I gotta say, Q, I think you're right. The answer is no, you don't. You have a fraction of that install base. You have the install base that is really big on Magic the Gathering, and the fraction of those people that are also into MMORPGs. That's your built-in install base, not Magic the Gathering fans.
Well, I mean, just look at what we just talked about, the Duels game. I mean, you've got the physical players. That game is humongous, right? Worldwide, world championships taking place at every convention you run across. It's a huge game, the physical tabletop version of it. But those folks, there weren't even enough of them apparently to support the digital
right.
version of that exact game.
Right.
So, I mean, like you said, how many of those? What, do you take a small percentage of even that crowd that's going to be interested in the MMO version? Then when they didn't even want to play the digital version of the exact same game of the physical version because they can just go to their local game store every Friday night and play?
Oh, and that's the thing too, is you got to look at cardboard crack players. They're a bit more social than online players. Like, we have a different kind of socialness. Like, cardboard crack players actually want to go somewhere where other people are at and play a game, sit across from them, look the other player in the eyes, and destroy them. Like, that's the way these people function. And, I mean, I've watched it. Like I said, I had an ex who spent Magic, Pokemon, the Harry Potter game. It didn't matter what it was. And it didn't matter the age of the person. I sat and watched him do a tournament with a bunch of 5-year-olds. Like, but the thing about it is they want that in-person interaction. It's the difference between, tabletop players and LARPers and video game gamers. We're not all the same people. We're not all looking for the same thing. There's those of us that do kind of dabble in all of it.
Yeah.
But in general, they have their cores, and yeah, you'll have your LARPers who play a couple of video games, but they're not really video game gamers.
Right.
They are LARPers, you know, it's different subsets of people. And your cardboard crack players, they want the tactile. They want to know that the money they spent on these big ass boxes of game or cards, like, it's their collection. They can pull it out and show it to somebody and be, look at this, isn't it impressive? You don't get that with this kind of stuff, and I really don't think that most of them you're going to be like, yeah, come play this MMO. It's based on a game you already play.
I'm not gonna lie. That's why all my tabletop, I've got 3 bookshelves full of tabletop games, like Fantasy Flight, expensive ones, the nice ones. I display them on bookshelves and set them up to be displayed. I don't hide them in some closet somewhere. So yeah, I mean, there's some validity to that for sure.
Let me just whip this out and show you my big collection.
Exactly.
All right, so let us know what you think. We'll, of course, keep tabs on Magic the Gathering MMORPG. Sorry, Q said that. I was like 14 real quick there. Voice is cracking, so we'll go. Before we go on to the weekly bombs and the question of the week, I do want to touch on this very quickly. And we'll give your feedback on last week's question of the week, which was particular to Secret World and Secret World Legends and its transition. But we generally, in a more general sense, put up a survey on the website, on MMOBomb.com, asking, you know, would you restart your MMO? Whatever MMO game it was in particular. Final Fantasy XIV, Star Trek Online, a free-to-play game, a sub-game, Guild Wars 2, whatever. Would you start over in your MMO of choice if the game did something similar to what the Secret World is doing, with a relaunch and you can go and play on the old servers with no updates, but the new servers are going to be slightly different, the game's getting an overhaul, and that's what's going to be updated? And I don't know how you two feel about this, but personally, we'll get your take on it in a second, but I was kind of stunned by the survey results. I really was. I was surprised. We had over 200 votes since we've put it up, and so by all means, continue to vote. The post was just put up 3 days ago, and so 209 results as of this recording. And the question was the same. Would you start over in your favorite online game if it got the same treatment as the Secret World? That means your game's going to shut down as far as updates go, but you could still play on the old servers if you want to. You could transfer into the new game, the one that's going to get the updates, but you have to start over. And out of those 209 votes, guys, 81% said, yes, I would play on the new servers. I was stunned by that number. And maybe I'm silly for being stunned. I didn't think it'd be anywhere near that high with any sample size, let alone a few hundred in a couple of days. 6% said no, they'd keep playing on the old servers. And 13% said no, I'd quit the game entirely. And I almost think that, like, I don't know how much my interest in playing Secret World Legends would be if I wasn't press. Like, I would probably, if I'm being honest, I would probably stop playing because I just don't want to go through all that stuff I already went through again. And I don't think I'd play on the old servers because why? It's not going to get an update. I'd probably quit entirely. And I kind of liken this, Troy, almost to... and maybe it's not comparable, but it kind of got the wheels in my head turning. Although I sit here and say no, didn't I do exactly that for Final Fantasy XIV?
Yes,
but I did it for different reasons, right? The game sucked, and so I stopped playing, and then when A Realm Reborn came out, I started over in A Realm Reborn, and to me that's different because they were almost entirely 2 different games at that point. I don't know. I'm torn on this one, but I was really surprised by the results. Did this fall into your realm of this is what you expected, Q, or did this surprise you too so far?
If we were speaking solely about the Secret World, I think it would surprise me. Because, like I said before, for a lot of us, the Secret World, the point is the story, right? Like, there's a lot of people who are literally playing it for just that. If you're talking about, like, say, World of Warcraft or something like that, I mean, yes, there are those people who are very interested in lore and they care about it so much, you know, Missy.
Yeah.
But most players, they're there to level up, to get to in-game, to do raids or, you know, PvP or whatever it is that they're doing. So they're just grinding their way through it anyway as fast as they possibly can. And a lot of people, they'll do it over and over again, like saying, wow, if they introduce a new race or whatever, they'll do it over again anyway. So it may not be as, it may not be exactly the same thing. And if you're asking people in your game and not specifically the Secret World,
and that's
but like,
what we asked. It was your game.
In your game. So the difference may be, it may not be as big of a deal. And like I said, my beef with it, like I'm thinking at this point I'm probably going to go ahead and try. But like I said, a lot of my issue is I just have to let, you know, go through the same exact storyline all over again. And when that's pretty much what you're playing for, it's like when you set down a book for a while and then you come back and you can't remember where you were at. So you have to start all over again. And it makes it harder the second time around.
Yeah.
To try to, because you're just like, well, crap, I don't even remember where I was at anymore, so let me just do, and then so I don't know how it's going to work for that. And then, of course, like I said, my other really big concern, the combat I'm kind of okay with after, you know, being shown the combat and everything, but my other big concern is, what if my stuff are they going to give me? This is what I want to know. If I don't get my 2012 pet, I'm going to be very unhappy.
Troy, before I ask for your feedback on the survey itself, Q and I, our opinions on Secret World and then Secret World Legends itself are well documented on previous free-to-play casts and interviews. Briefly, though, I know you have been part of the group on and off that has played the Secret World from Gamebreaker forward. What are your general thoughts on the whole transition to Secret World Legends and everything? And then we'll come back to the survey results for you.
Trying to be as careful as possible because there is still an NDA in place. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to being able to talk about this. Speaking of which, Mr. Byrne, I'd like to put you on the spot just a little bit here. In front of the millions and millions of free-to-play cast viewers, I want you to promise that as soon as this NDA drops, you will invite me back to this show so we can talk in depth about the actual changes themselves.
All right, you got it. I mean, the game launches on the 26th. That's 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's like 11 days from now. So I would assume that at some point we'll just have to see if the NDA falls before next week's free-to-play cast or not. But yeah, we'll definitely have you back on the show. I know you're a Secret World guy. That's why I wanted to get your take briefly on the whole transition.
Yeah, I mean, what other game out there brings what this game can do? Yes, it's, you know, we're talking the Secret World here, not breaking NDA. It's had its weaknesses. Those are well documented across the entire genre. Like everybody knows what the weaknesses are, but the strengths are so good and so unique. And I'm excited to see them trying to make something else of it and really try to grow it and sort of reinvigorate it.
And you don't even care that you're going to have to start over.
I do not care at all. Now, once the NDA lifts, we can talk a little bit more about some of the whys of that. But you know, I don't care to start over. And apparently, most of the folks in this poll wouldn't mind it if the circumstances were right either. It sounds like.
So you're not surprised by these results then, as surprised as I was. Like again, to Q's point, I probably would not be surprised if this was limited to the Secret World. I am surprised that these numbers for yes, I'd play on the new servers were this big, because we made it, if your favorite online game did this, would you still be willing to stay with them? And, I mean, wow, 81%? That was a big number for me.
It was the reverse for me. I was less surprised because we opened it up to a wider variety of games.
So you're surprised for the other reason.
And so I wasn't surprised because we opened it up to a wider variety of games, and a lot of those games I just don't like. Like I said, there's a lot of games that people just level over and over and over again anyway for a new race being created or whatever it is.
My apologies.
Secret World is like, at least with me, I had one character, and that's the character. You know, the only other reason for me to make another character was to try out one of the other factions, and well, I don't play anything but Dragon.
So Troy, your survey result thoughts?
And honestly, even based on what I just said, I was shocked to see the overwhelming yes that was in that poll when I first saw that. I really thought, because I mean, I feel the way I feel about it, and we just said, you know, I'm excited, I'm okay with starting over. I'm excited to start over. I would prefer, based on some of the changes that they've talked about publicly. So I went to your poll, and I was going to click yes, you know, just kind of based on the Secret World, but there are other games that I can think of that would excite me for too. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to vote yes, because that's going to be like 6% of the people are going to be voting yes. Everybody, this is the internet. I'm not trying to say anything about anybody, but this is the internet. I was expecting everybody to just be mad and pissy about it. No, hell no, I'm quitting the game. I'm never playing again. And when I pushed that yes, and it was already by that point like 80%, I'm pretty sure I physically gaped, staring at the webpage, going, "What?" Because I really thought I was so far out in left field.
There are some loyal players out there, man.
Yeah,
loyal players. Well, if you want to get in on the survey, go over to MMOBomb.com, throw your answer in there. We've got a bunch of feedback from viewers for last week's show in the question of the week, making it specific to the secret world, and either were you a player, and are you looking forward to it? So we'll get to those on today's show, but let's get over and slide on to the weekly bombs. Go ahead, Troy. We'll put you up first.
Oh, well, that's perfect, considering that my dub bomb is
segue for the win. About.
Yeah, the Secret World Legends. I'm going to give them dub bomb for having the balls to completely reinvigorate their game. They could have very easily just went free to play and said, "Oh, we're free to play now, show up," or just there's so many easier, cheesy ways they could have done that. And instead, they're like, you know what? These are our weaknesses. We're at least going to make an attempt to address some of those. So dub bomb to the Secret World Legends for having the balls to do that. And my A-bomb goes to Xbox One X, the name. I get it, branding, but what was your marketing department doing? Taking a nap when you were trying to name that thing?
I can't wait till the third version comes out. Xbox One XXX. It's going to be amazing. Go ahead, Q.
Bye-bye. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and give an A-bomb to my mic. Sitting here. Really job being a mic. You have one job. That's the only job I ask. And I don't even ask it to work that often. It's like once every couple of weeks. Yeah, it can't. It just can't.
I'm sure a bunch of viewers just smiled and put their thumbs up on that one. I'm going to give a dub. We're working on it. We're getting our headset. It's fine. I'm going to give a dub bomb, obviously. It is Thursday the 15th. I'm eagerly awaiting. I'm eagerly awaiting 5 in the morning, tomorrow morning my time, because Final Fantasy XIV, I don't care that it's not free to play. Stormblood expansion comes out. I'm going to bed right after this cast. No, I'm not. But I should, so that I can be up at 5 a.m. my time to start my Red Mage adventures. So dub bomb for Stormblood.
Do you have confidence that that's actually going to be ready to go at 5 a.m.?
You shut your whore mouth. Let's go on to the viewer bombs.
It's getting ugly up in here, guys.
You don't you dare put that voodoo on me, Ricky Bobby. From the viewers, Sarcastic Ending, great name, says, Bless in the RU server has a kind of bad optimization. In Korea it works better, and there's always the problem that the action combat is too sensitive. Besides that, it is a great game in my opinion. Too bad all the difficulties it's facing. That on the heels of last week's topic, where Area Games publishing Bless in the West, and the Russian servers having issues and sending the game back. So, Sarcastic Ending, I'm going to take it as if you're recommending that if somebody wants to play Bless, they should just play in the Korean servers, or not at all. That's what it sounds like. Go ahead, Troy.
Oh, Window XP. It's very hard to join in a multiplayer online community without being permanently banned or kicked from lobby room and getting harassment from players. I guess that goes to show the gaming community does not want new players anymore in multiplayer games nowadays.
Okay. A little bit, well, it is the internet, so there's that. Go ahead, Q.
Oh, really?
Here, let me put some spaces in.
I guess he wants me to try pronouncing it again. So Bio says, the bomb to Q for continuing what has more or less become a free-to-play cast meme. Honestly, I'm starting to think it might be my fault in the first place. Too many vowels all in a row and whatnot.
That's Q mispronouncing Pyar round, just like Zach does.
I forget what I tried to do, but yeah. I'm also a little sad that my comment had to be shortened, but I understand completely. I wouldn't want to read that whole thing aloud either.
Yeah, some of you guys and gals out there, I mean, we definitely appreciate it and we definitely read it, but when you give me all of the information to make your point, which is fantastic, I gotta edit it down a little bit and just get the essence of it for the free-to-play cast, or we'll be here forever. I apologize that I have to do that, but I think everybody understands why. Lagwin 1980, Magic would rock a gimp suit.
You had to be here last week. That's my fault.
Okay. I'm sure that makes sense to somebody.
Go ahead, Troy.
Oh, Wilfredo Rivero, Dub-Bomb for a slight resurgence of the rise of the Monk class. See games starting to bring back the Monk class into the MMO world again, like in BDO and Blade and Soul. Maybe Guild Wars 2 might find a reason to bring back the Monk and show people how it's done. 100% agree.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Q.
The Nicholas D. Wolfwood. Great name. So let me see if I got this right. People are waiting for Bless for 5 years. Big eye face. Well, good for you. I'm still waiting for Soulmaster.
Ooh, be waiting for a while there again. Sky Shadow, Hydrix Sky Shadow. A-Bomb to Heroes of the Storm's loot chest. This is not a joke. I was lucky enough to get the same damn legendary skin 12 times for a hero that I don't own and don't intend on buying. I opened 200 plus chests, and I have about 23 skins in total, but I have all voice lines and spray paints because, hey, that's what I wanted. Frickin' spray paints. FML, and damn you, Blizzard. That sucks. I feel your pain. Go ahead, Troy. Finish this, finish this off. Q is going to have one more.
5,000 CZ. Bless was the only MMORPG I was kind of looking forward to. So sad. Sorry, bro.
Q.
Yeah. Daniel Oppenlander. I really hope people stop supporting area games for this. I'm so sad to see that Bless isn't coming. It was so great.
And while I could feel where Daniel's coming from, I have a question on this one from you guys. I mean, Area, at least publicly, their view on dropping the game, and NeoWiz and the what's the other company? I can't remember. G Potato, isn't that who owns Area now? Is it G Potato?
Yeah.
No, that's not right.
No, it's another G1 though.
Yeah, it is. This is gonna bug me.
Stop changing companies, guys.
General discussion, news.
Gamigo?
Gamigo, thank you. I knew it was a G. You're right. It's Gamigo. G Potato. God, they've been gone for a while. Well, changed. So, while I can feel like the anger at Area Games, at least their public reason was this game ain't ready for prime time, and I almost gotta like support them for that type of move, say, instead of what traditionally you would, at least in my mind, associate Area with to a certain extent is push it whatever it is and we'll just get it monetized for as long as we can. I almost gotta say I like the decision of Area Games saying this just isn't ready for prime time, if that is in fact the actual reason they did it. That's their public statement.
Well, and the last time I was on the show,
the Russians kind of backed it up.
I was going to say, the last time I was on the show, we talked about these are not the first publishers to push that game back to the developers and say, hey, this ain't ready. So, I mean, like you said, I don't really think this is on them. I think they're doing you as a gamer a service, it sounds like, at this point.
Which is surprising from Area.
Yes.
Question of the week last week. If you were a Secret World player, how do you feel about Secret World Legends? If you weren't a Secret World player, how do you feel about Secret World Legends? Will you play either way? Elusive X Treasure says, for the question of the week, I'm on the fence here. I will try it. After seeing the combat videos, I have some renewed interest in it. Having to do the quests over doesn't really bother me. After all, as I've stated many times, I'm not an endgame player, and even in games with a less vibrant story, I've been known to delete and recreate max level characters just to level them again. That's dedication. The keys and the combat controls are my biggest concerns. I have nerve damage in my mouse hand, so action combat is taxing on me and can depend greatly on how my hand is reacting that day. The starting class is concerning me too. While I understand why they do it, Rift did something similar, I sincerely hope you can freely switch out your weapons right away, especially since most of the builds I used didn't fit those decks. I like overall what I'm hearing about the dungeons being able to be 3-manned, since that happens to be my group size, but I'd like to know if the 5-man Trinity versions of those dungeons are available at their initial level or only at endgame. Sometimes I feel I like a greater challenge, sometimes I feel less social and just want to play with my friends. All in all, it seems I'll just have to play to find out what I really think. And all three of us could answer those questions for you, but unfortunately...
I could answer some of those questions because they answered them in the preview.
Go ahead and take those ones that you can. Let's go ahead.
All right, so the action combat thing, they did address this, and I actually wrote about this in the article. They took into account things like that, disabilities and stuff, and you do not have to use your mouse in order to play. They've made it to where you can just play with your keyboard and not have to do the continuous clicking and stuff like that. The switching out your weapons right away, from what I got from what they were showing me, you're going to have to, you know, like basically buy, like you did in the original game, right? You had to go and buy the weapons and start buying the skills in order to be able to do that. But since it's one character and you're still going to be able to get all of those, you're not stuck with a class, you would probably be able to do it right away. But they had, like, I think their intention is to just kind of have a good mix of starter classes to begin with. I'm not sure that they even have all of them in there yet, or when they showed them to me.
So I still wish I could confirm or deny everything you're saying.
Yeah.
It sucks for the three of us to be sitting here like this going...
The three-man from what he was explaining to me, it's not going to be like an in-game on those 5-mans. It's just going to be later on down the line a little bit, like, you know, then you'll run into them. So it shouldn't be like you're having to wait all the way to the end to get to 5-man, you know, Trinity dungeons. I think it's like the early ones to start with, just to kind of get you in the door and be like, look, this is a dungeon and it's not so scary, is essentially the way they described it to me.
Q, go ahead and take the next one.
Wilfredo Rivera, as a former Secret World player, I have mixed feelings about this. On the one hand, the combat needed a serious overhaul from launch. The customization of your character has always been really good, but the combat did a complete faceplant. The story was always very enjoyable, and I hope it stays constant. On the other hand, we've seen games get complete overhauls, and all it did was send them to the MMO morgue as fast as Magic Man's hopes for the PSO2 hit the States. Oh, that's wrong. We shall see how this iteration turns out. Fingers crossed.
Just for you, in the next few days, Wilfredo, I'm posting a PSO2 first look. Because the Twitter hoax had me so angry, I finally went through and did all the English patching and everything. And I was like, I don't care if this game came out 5 years ago. I'm doing a Western first look of this game.
Wow.
So it'll be up in actually, I just recorded it before this. I have to grab maybe 2 minutes of footage on changing skills. So look for that sometime, and maybe I'll post it tomorrow with the free-to-play cast. Go ahead, Troy. You take the next one, because I know you feel a certain way on this one.
Yeah, Dave Clinch, never played Secret World and not planning on it. This move from old to new version feels like a cash grab, and I don't want to be hooked in. And just real quick, I just wanted to reply to this a little bit. Dave, I'm not trying to, like, talk smack on you or anything or say that your opinion is wrong, but to me, there are two phrases that are overly used in this genre, obviously. Pay to win is the first one that gets used way too often on every free-to-play cash shop ever. Most people who use that phrase don't know what pay to win actually looks like. And cash grab, yes, there are cash grabs. To me, and my opinion versus yours, this comes across as anything but a quote-unquote cash grab. This is them literally trying to save this MMO. That's not a cash grab. That is them trying to not just make a game disappear completely. Nothing about this comes across as cash grab. They're giving away content and things they used to charge for free now. This is them trying to reinvigorate and save an MMO that is quite honestly probably dying.
James Esparza says, question of the week, long-time Secret World player here. I'll put it like this. I was excited about a free-to-play update. I was shocked about a brand new game. I was worried and left in the dark, which is basically what Funcom did for a while.
Yes.
I had absolutely no idea how to feel or what was really going on behind the scenes. I'm in dread the Secret World ride is over. I'm living with my fingers crossed. And I think that sums up a lot of Secret World players.
Yeah.
Finish us off, Troy. I'm going to pass that last one to Troy just in the interest of Q's microphone.
Sky Shadow, question of the week. I'm not a player, but I am really excited on trying the game out. For one, the idea seems really good. I'm interested in the storyline, After all the praise, I'm expecting it to be good, but most of all, I hope to catch an interest in it. I've played from so many MMORPG, ARPG, and with all my willpower, I couldn't care about the game. Terra, Path of Exile, ESO, Tree of Savior, etc. The only one that I play is Guild Wars 2. Hope I can add another one to the small list of games I give a crap about.
Question of the week for next week. What was your favorite moment, announcement, or big reveal from E3 2017, and who won? Who won E3 in your book? I don't care who you pick. Just tell us why in the comments below. While you're there, don't forget your weekly bombs. Da-bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad, or any question you have for the panel. Anticipating an NDA drop on Secret World Legends. We will, of course, at least have Troy here next week. Q, I don't know. We'll see what's going on with yours and Jason's schedule. So we will plan on talking Secret World Legends, provided the NDA drops. But if you've got questions, put them in the comments below as well. Until next week, Troy, where can everybody find you, sir?
Hey, nearly every day, twitch.tv/noobfridge. We are streaming video games, and once the Secret World Legends goes live, that's going to be a big part of what we do for a little while. So if you want to see what the game's all about, once we get permission to do so, man, we are going crazy with that.
Q.
On Twitter, as always, at Quentlin, and maybe someday other places, but right now, just there. I'm busy dealing with crazy apartment stuff, so.
I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. You can follow me personally on Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1. Missed the point, but it was at least with the right hand. While you're there, of course, follow at MMOBomb so that you can get tweets of all the news, articles, videos, and everything that we put in your face. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.